So when you look at these two pictures, I also want to let you know that in this program, students will be offered the opportunities to learn about history of Western and Asian arts. And then, so we would, of course, give them trainings on visual analysis, historical studies, and then they will be able to learn about, the works of masters. Like in these pictures, you can see Michelangelo, who was a very famous Renaissance artist. And then they will be able to learn about the functions of art in religion. So we are not just talking about technique or design. So the historical context related to the artworks and the artists actually was very important. And this part of training seldom be offered in high schools, and that's why in the university, students will be able to open up their mind to learn more about history of art. And then so from this picture, we can easily see the iconography of Madonna and Jesus, right? But when you look into detail and about the artistic styles, the trainings of the artists, then students will be able to learn more about how to compare different stylistic expressions between different artists. Say in Renaissance period, actually there are many great masters, and students will be able to learn about different styles and then the historical context related to the subjects. But a few years ago, actually there was an exhibition about inflatable sculpture. I'm not sure whether you have been to West Kowloon Cultural District. And have you seen this sculpture? No? So maybe you can pay a visit to Austin Road or Kowloon Station, because both stations will take you to this really vast space that will be the future space for the new museums called M+. So it is part of the West Kowloon Cultural District project, and the museums called M+ would feature 20th and 21st century visual culture, including traditional fine arts, and then they also would have arts, architectures and design, moving images, and some other contemporary arts. So and in 2013, actually, the museum, they introduced this kind of new concept of inflatable sculpture. So lots of Hong Kong citizens, they would just think, oh, it looks really ugly, right? And we usually would just say, wow, this is a pretty work, and then this is another ugly work. Then you would immediately prop some sorts of questions. Why the government wastes so much money on putting something disgusting in the public, right? So it actually shows that the public hasn't got knowledge of art history. So if they receive training in the history of contemporary art, then they will be able to know more about the background of the famous American artist called Paul McCarthy. So like in the program of visual studies, we will offer student training to evaluate, analyze works. So we are not just saying something quite subjective, it is beautiful or not. So beauty is just one of the concepts we will explore in the course on aesthetics. And then but for the art history programs, then we will teach students how to conduct research on the artist. So when we know more about the background of the artist and also the context of contemporary art, then we basically know that this is not something really smelly or ugly. But the artist has put a quite abstract title for the work, complex pile. It is very complex, right? It doesn't mean that it is certainly something you're going to produce in the toilets after lunch, right? So, but it actually can provoke curiosity, right? And then contemporary arts can interact with, the environment and audience. So we teach students how to see and analyze artwork. So that is something that, students normally cannot learn about these sorts of academic disciplines in high school. So similarly, there was another inflatable sculptures arrived in Hong Kong, again in 2013. So have you seen this? At Harbor City, yeah. So this is more attractive. First of all, it's cute, and then lots of people, they would spend time in Harbor City for shopping, food, and other family events. Then you can see that people, they came to take picture with the duck. So, but they actually know very little about the design, the concept of this inflatable sculpture. So it was actually a touring exhibition, and the inflatable rubber duck was produced by a Netherlandish artist, Florentine Holman. So if we just focus on the image in front of us, then you will take a picture. After a second, maybe you will just go. But if you learned to appreciate, these types of visual culture, then you would probably learn to find out the background information of the designer, and then you would learn about, the impact of art and visual cultures on society. And in this case, actually, the inflatable sculpture was introduced by a commercial corporation, right? The shopping mall want to draw the crowd to the place, and then they can spend money in shops. So arts and commerce actually could complement with each other, right? The artists, they want audiences. And then the shopping malls, they need customers. So somehow they would share, similar ideas. But of course, commercial ideas shouldn't, dominate the art piece. So the artistic value should be, explained to the audience in many different forms. Say, like some magazines actually have interviewed the artists, and then they also would explain the sculpture into detail, and show the production process and some other implications of this rubber duck phenomenon in consumer cultures. So if the student, they didn't really receive trainings in art history, aesthetics, they would normally just be similar to other general public. They would just come here for photo taking. But if they would be offered guidance to evaluate the whole phenomenon, then they could learn more about the in-depth meanings of what was going on in our society. So this is why education is so important, especially in Hong Kong, when people, they became more aware of arts and culture developments. Then I think it is actually a timely subjects to talk about visual culture, and which is in fact included in the program of visual studies at Xingnan.